What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome to the Run Try Bike Fireside Chat on July 1st, which happens to be the 1 year anniversary of the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network. My name is Jason Bahamundi. I am the founder of Run Try Bike, and I guess you could say the brains behind getting EAPN up and running. It's been a year, to say the least. It's been a blast over these last 12 months to be able to have these conversations with so many different athletes doing so many different things in the world of endurance sports, from triathlons to trails and ultras to 5Ks. Over the last 12 months, we were also able to introduce the Enduring Minds podcast, which is a men's mental health podcast that I am hosting or co-hosting with Evan Birch. And we've gotten some great positive feedback on those episodes where we've got men who are opening up about their mental health struggles, things that they've gone through, how they've gotten through them, if they've gotten through them, and literally being as open and honest and vulnerable as you can expect somebody to be in one of these conversations. Our Food Fight Friday at the aid station, we were able to land Seven Summit Snacks as our sponsor for that show, which was awesome. Thanks to Kristen and the team up there in Edmonton for sponsoring the nonsensical conversation that Adam Lee of Community Trail Running and I have twice a month over on that podcast. And it's a blast. It is in the vein of Fuck, Marry, Kill, where we offer 3 different foods and a person has to choose whether to eat, toss, or carry the food items. And it's just a blast. It's 15 minutes. It's a great way to wind down your week on a Friday, head into the new year. Joe Harden has been hosting Beyond the Finish Line. I think he's up to 30 episodes this year, which has been awesome. Great feedback on his episodes, as Joe has an ability to connect with people on a level that is sort of like, hey, let's meet at the local coffee shop and have a conversation. He's also co-hosting with me the What's in Your Earbuds show, which has been a blast, which is the last thing I expected to have to do this year, since music and running and me don't go hand in hand. But Joe has dragged me along into that conversation, and it's been wonderful. That got started with Ohm. And so kudos and shout out to Ohm for getting that show started with Joe. Running Tales, which has now gone on hiatus, lasted the full year with us. Craig has landed himself a job, which requires that he commute these days. And, time is limited for the vast majority of us. And so he won't be able to host the show anymore at this point. So we've put it on hiatus till maybe September, and we'll see when that show comes back. Our Fiery Embers has been fantastic. We recently had the team from Relay Iowa, Team Random, Ryan, Mandy, and Liz on the show. What a blast. We talked about pooping because that's what runners do. So the Fiery Ember show has been fantastic. We had a great episode with Mandy Mullen of Run Windsor as well. And then the bellwether for us, the Fireside Chat, which you're listening to right now. Once a week, every Tuesday, we go live. We broadcast simultaneously to Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, X, and LinkedIn. And we bring guests on and we have fantastic conversations about things that they're overcoming. If they're athletes, if they're business owners, we talk about how the correlation between running and business works. And it's been a blast to have. And I will tell you this, if you're an athlete and you want to talk about the things that you're overcoming and working through or have overcome, come join me. Send me a DM and let's have a conversation. We don't talk VO2 max. We don't talk about paces or how far you rode your bike or how far you're swimming that day or that week or anything like that. We really just get into the conversations about you as a person, because that's what we're interested in. That's the thing that we want to have the most conversation with. And so that's where we're at with our 1 year walk down memory lane, shall we say, for EAPN. I can tell you this, folks, it has been well received. We have over 300 followers. We have only 5-star ratings on our network. And I believe we have somewhere in the vicinity of 15, 16, 17,000 downloads in our first year on Apple and Spotify. And then also looking at YouTube, I think in the first 6 months of this year, we have had 27,000 views on our shows and our shorts and the things that we've put together over there, which has been damn cool to see. So I'm pretty excited about that. So hopefully we can get 50 or 60,000 views going on over there at some point by the end of this year. We put out an AMA and I have some questions. So Chrissy Murphy has asked what my favorite movie is, which is an interesting topic, Chrissy, because we have considered getting a new show out there called with regards to movies and whether or not we think that a movie show will be good for our audience. So this is a great question. So for me, the answer to your question is I am a huge fan of Casablanca. That was a movie that I started to watch when I was in college because I was hungover and did not want to get out of the bed, and the local school channel put on Casablanca and ran it endlessly, back to back to back to back to back. And I literally just sat there watching it the whole time and had just this crazy infatuation with the entire story. And isn't it ironic that we're sort of facing this scenario right now where, back then it was Nazi Germany and we were having this political discussion in this country about fascism and authoritarianism, if I could ever get that out of my mouth straight. It does look like we're having some issues connecting with Instagram. So hopefully we'll be able to get that up and running here real soon. But so Casablanca has been my favorite movie for a very long time. And the idea that he says, play it again, Sam, is not accurate. That is not something that he actually says in the movie. Never happens. So that's a little bit of trivia. So hopefully, Chrissy, that answers your question. Over on Threads, I got a comment, shall we say, not necessarily a question, but a comment from Kevin Shea, who says, could I be quieter in the morning? And this has to do with me recording the Morning Cup of Jason that I have been doing every morning for about a week now. It is literally a 30-second to 1 minute, let's get the day started. For those of you that are on the East Coast, it's probably coming in around lunch. For those of you that are on the West Coast, it's coming in the morning. So it's perfect time for that conversation to be happening. And it's literally just me saying, hey, good morning. And unfortunately, in today, July 1st, when I did it, I scared Lori because according to her, I was a little too loud, shall we say. So, Kevin, I'll try to be quieter, but I don't think that is in my makeup to do. Being loud is part of who I am. So Lori's going to have to live with it, and everybody else in this building is going to have to learn to live with it, I guess. By the way, if you're watching a baseball game with me or almost any sporting event, I am going to be loud, really loud, just because I get into it. It's one of my passions is to watch sports. And yeah, if it's my favorite team, awesome. If it's not my favorite team, that's cool too. I just love watching experts do what they do. And those athletes are absolutely experts in their field. We have a comment or question coming in from YouTube. Who is your dream interview? And if they said you could only interview them while eating a pineapple pizza, would you pass? Woo, tough questions. Thanks, Santino, for putting the hard ones out there for me. If it's a dream interview, why would I pass even if I had to eat something I didn't like? Because look, let's get the record straight. I don't like pineapple on pizza, but if pressed in this scenario, I'm going to eat it, right? It's one time only. I'll suck it down. People will clamor on and laugh at me and probably post memes all over the place. And that's fine. I just don't want to eat it. I don't like the idea of acidic pineapple and acidic tomato sauce. It just doesn't work for me. But if you like it, eat it up all day, every day. I'm never going to arm wrestle with you over it. As Will Eady, who goes by Runs to the Left on Instagram and Threads, told us today, don't be the yuck to somebody's yum. So it's not for me. If it's for you, enjoy it. Who would be my dream interview? So Santino doesn't clarify if this person is alive or dead. And so I'm going to do one of both. I would love to do a tandem interview with Michelle and Barack Obama. One of the things that kind of gets lost in the conversation about Barack is Michelle. And the support and the things that she had to do to support him, I would be fascinated by that conversation. I would love to get into a conversation with them about being healthy, about working out, about thinking and reading, contemplating how they manage the world of hatred that's being pushed at them on a regular basis. That would be the kind of conversation I would love to have. And coincidentally, the other dream interview, they're dead, but I would love to have interviewed John Kennedy for similar reasons, right? Hatred, young president like Obama was, this idea of being Catholic and dealing with the Cuban Missile Crisis at the time, like just big decision making. Look, we're runners. This is our hobby. Like sometimes our biggest decision is, do I take the fruit punch gel or do I take the blueberry gel? I want to get into the conversations about, making decisions about whether or not to go to war, whether or not to pass a law. How's it going to impact the country? How's it going to impact the world? Big thinking type of things. So if Barack and Michelle Obama require me to eat a pineapple on pizza, Santino, it is what it is, dude. I'm doing it. Mrs. Knight, what is your secret for keeping stories so relatable, even to those of us who don't run ultras? Here's the story. So my father, who had nothing more than a third grade education, used to put me down on the couch and watch 60 Minutes and CBS Sunday Morning with Jane Paul. And if you've watched either of those two shows, and I continue to watch them today, I'm 51 years old, 40 years of watching these shows. They ask really good questions, which is why I'm really angry at this idea of journalists today just giving up and asking the hard question because somebody might get upset with them and post a meme or type an all caps post somewhere about them and call them by name. Like, who gives a shit, man? Ask the question. Ask the relatable question. Ask the good question. And so I think if you ask open-ended questions, you can get into the heart of the conversation, because reality is, if I'm asking somebody about whether or not they can, how they got to running a 6-minute mile and the person's top end speed is a 12-minute mile, it's unrelatable in a sense, because we kind of shut off our brains to this idea that I can run a 6-minute mile. So let's ask open-ended questions about their life, the things that they do, the obstacles that they're overcoming, and how, if they're overcoming that obstacle in life, does that translate to getting through mile 62 of a 100-mile event? Or even better yet, like, why would you register for a 100-mile run or a 200-mile run these days? 250 miles for that matter. Like, there's so many distances that people are covering, and why are you doing it? I fall back on Jamel Hill, who is a sports writer and a broadcast personality who used to work at ESPN and now has her own show on TBS, I believe. But at one point in time, I saw Jamel Hill type, you can never outrun your childhood. And she was talking about traumas and the things that we do that we have had to deal with since we were kids. And I think when we start getting into those conversations, you can relate to the person that I'm talking to because they're now human. The idea is, I am running because when I was a kid, I didn't enjoy X or Y, or I had abusive parents, or I had abusive teachers, things along those lines. And I think when you go through that path, you start to recognize connections to people and sort of I can run further or faster, I can swim further or faster, I can cycle further or faster, kind of goes away. And I will tell you this, and for all brands out there, if you want to have athletes on our show, any of our shows that I'm hosting, I'm really not interested in how fast they are or how many podiums they've been on. I just don't give a shit, honestly. What I'm interested in is their story, the things that they have to do to get a sponsorship from a brand. Do they feel like they can't say certain things because of the brands that are either working with them or they're looking to work with in the future? And how does that impact them? Because if they have to be uber cognizant of what they're saying, then their mental health is going to suffer because they're not going to feel the freedom to talk about things. And I think that's a topic that I'd want to explore, as opposed to, I can run a mile in 6.5 minutes or go to the other end in 20.5 minutes. So I think that's how we can create relatable stories between either elite athletes or middle to back of the packers. To those who don't run, it's getting to the heart of it all and getting to know the person that is on the other end of the camera, or the other end of the microphone, which is a great question. By the way, I could never have envisioned myself doing this, interviewing people, asking them questions. I had no idea that my father was putting me in training when I was a teenager and watching 60 Minutes and Jane Pauley on CBS Sunday Morning. I had no idea that I would start a company that was revolving around interviewing people, whether it be audio, video, or for the written word. But I'm glad that he did. And I'm glad that I found my way to this area because I've been able to connect with so many people on so many different levels and so many different places, that has made my life richer and has made an ugly world at times seem a lot prettier than it probably should. Before I get to the next question, I want to bring up the Run Try Bike newsletter. If you're a subscriber, you'll notice in the last 3 newsletters that have gone out, there have been a lot less of the stories that are written for our website and a lot more me in these newsletters, a lot more discussion about my thoughts behind the scenes on the athletes that we interview and how we get them to come and talk to us, to this last one, which went out yesterday about running culture and who defines it and what does it mean. If you subscribe to our newsletter, you can look forward to more of those types of conversations. I've been writing notes on different topics that I want to discuss, such as the DNF and the mindset behind a DNF, and why do we as the everyday Joe perceive it as the end of our worlds when the elites are dropping out, on a consistent basis, in all honesty. I remember at Lake Sonoma, Lori telling me that, out of the top 10 expected finishers, something in the range of 6 or 7 dropped out that day because they had other races that they wanted to focus on, where placing meant more to them because that was going to be the ticket to sponsorship. I will refer to Western States that just happened this past weekend. David Roche, who had been the talk of the town for so long because of his most recent wins and the things that he had been doing in this sport, DNF'd. Rod Farvard, who was a favorite to win Western States this year, also DNF'd. And I'm not saying they did it easily and they were just flipping about it and said, hey, I'm walking off the course and so be it. But they did it. And so I wonder oftentimes why we as hobbyists, because that's who we are in these sports, these are our hobbies, we're not getting paid to do this stuff. Why are we so afraid to DNF? Why are we so afraid to maintain our health instead of risk our health to finish a race? Is it because we're worried that Susie in Sarasota is going to unfriend us because we didn't finish the race? Are we worried that, Justin in Joplin, Missouri is going to post something negative on our Strava if we DNF a race? I want to get into that mindset. And so those are going to be the things that you'll see in our newsletters coming up from me, a little bit more in-depth conversations about our sports and doing my best to make them more relatable to the everyday athlete, because that's who we are and that's what we do. So now back to the next question, which is also coming from YouTube. What do you envision is the ultimate legacy, not just for RTB, but for EAPN in general? Man, this is a great question. And if anybody knows me, you know that long-term planning isn't always my forte. It's not always a strength of mine to be like, in 5 years, I want to do this company be here or this company be there. But I will give you the beginnings of EAPN and how it got started. So I'm a huge fan of the Dan Le Batard show and Dan himself, which will actually go back to Mrs. Knight, her question about secret for keeping stories so relatable. I listen to a lot of South Beach sessions with Dan Le Batard, talking to people from all over the world of entertainment and sports. And he doesn't ask them, how did it feel to finally win your first championship? He asked them questions about getting into the sport and why it was a goal to win a championship and things like that. And so when he left ESPN and joined hands with John Skipper, who was the president of ESPN at the time, to create Meadowlark Media, he also brought over personalities from ESPN to be under the Meadowlark Media umbrella. Pablo Torre, Amin Al-Hassan, Mina Kimes, Sarah Spain, and a whole host of other folks to be part of Meadowlark Media and this network. And that's what I envisioned. I envisioned this idea of multiple voices from multiple backgrounds with multiple personalities and interests, hosting shows, asking questions, getting engagement from the audience from all over the country and even the world, in all honesty. Because I think that having a mix of conversations is important to have within our worlds. If we all only listen to one podcast or we all only read one website, my goodness, the conversations would be boring. And so if we can contain those conversations within our own company, under our own umbrella, and have people pinging around all over the place and saying to us, hey, I listened to Enduring Minds, that was phenomenal, brought me to tears. And then the next day I listened to Food Fight Friday at the aid station and I was also in tears, but from laughter. I think that is one of the things that I would love to see happen. Being able to partner with companies who value what we do here at Run Try Bike and on EAPN is important. We don't want to eat ramen for the rest of our lives by any stretch of the imagination, right? But we also want to make sure we're partnering with the right people who are doing the right things. Right now, our roster from Veo Strip to Topo to SBR Sports to Rachel and the team at Pumpkin Man to Megan and the team at Run Windsor. Man, these people are into the everyday athlete. They are into this idea of providing opportunities for every Jane and Joe Smith to get to a starting line and hopefully to a finish line as well. And so if we can bring more partners under our umbrella who have the same vision and mission that we do, then I think the sky's the limit. I didn't mention Catula, but they are at the top of the list for companies who represent what we represent. Seven Summit Snacks and Kristen and the team over there is also in that same scenario. So here's the idea. Continue to have these conversations, continue to be the voice that people turn to have those hard cutting edge conversations. We want to talk about Pride Month. We want to talk about Men's Mental Health Month. We want to talk about Black History Month. We want to talk about Hispanic Heritage Month. We want to talk about all of those things and the athletes that are representative of those different topics and themes in those areas, and showcase that this actually is a place where we can all come under the big tent and have fun and race and compete with each other. And then at the end of the day, have a cup of coffee or a burrito and laugh. Again, the world gets dark at times, and oftentimes I don't find that we're laughing enough. And if we can do that, then I think that this can be uber successful in bringing the everyday athlete together under one umbrella. So hopefully I answered that question for you. Stephanie Walsh on Threads asked a question, so I'm going to put my coaching cap on. She asked a question about maintaining fitness after her half, which is coming up here real soon. And my first question would be maintaining fitness for what? Do you have another event that's around the corner? If you don't have another event that's around the corner, then fitness is going to be something that you want to define for yourself. That's not necessarily race day fitness, right? Maintaining race fitness all the time is hard, like really, really hard. I used to race a 100-mile ultra at the beginning of the year, usually middle to end of February, and then race an Ironman late September, early October. So you're really not getting any time off throughout that year. And it's hard. It's really hard. So unless you have another event coming up, don't worry about fitness in the sense of race fitness. Start thinking about fitness as well in the terms of overall health. Go for a swim, go for a hike, run when you want to. I wouldn't be beholden to a particular schedule if you're not interested in racing right away. Because if you're beholden to a schedule and you're not racing, you have the risk of burnout coming up really, really fast. So I would be cognizant of that. So the first question I would ask myself is fitness for what? What am I trying to maintain this fitness for? Stephanie also asked about politics and running, which is a great conversation because oftentimes people will say running isn't political. And to that, I say bullshit. It is political, right? When there's no funding for roads to get paved, national forest workers getting laid off or furloughed, and trails can't be maintained. Running is political. It's very political, as a matter of fact. The economy is going to drive whether or not you can afford new shoes. So if there's a tariff on running shoes and the normal $150 shoes are now $250 and you can't afford it, and it's because of tariffs, that's political. That's something that has impacted you as a runner. Maybe you're used to buying 4 pairs of shoes a year because that's what your budget allows. And now with the impact of tariffs or the impact of the economy going down because of a recession or unemployment going up, whatever the reason is, because those things don't happen in a vacuum, by the way, right? People are making decisions on our behalf that will make those impacts on us. And so if your budget doesn't allow for purchasing running shoes or shorts or a shirt all of a sudden and you're running less, that's impacted. So running is political, and it will always be political, as a matter of fact. I know one of the things that we have discussed here on the RTB platform is native lands, which has become a political hot button topic for a lot of people out there. That's political, recognizing and acknowledging the land that you run on, and then doing something beyond that, potentially volunteering, donating, having a conversation with a Native American is uber important. I bring this up because a year ago, almost to the day, Becky Croft posted something on Threads with regards to Western states and native lands. And I responded to her by saying, would you be open to having a conversation with me so I can get more context, so I can get more learning, because I'm interested in what you mean by this. And I've had a conversation with Becky almost immediately after that post, and we've had numerous conversations since then, both via text messaging, Threads, Instagram, but also in Zoom calls. And being able to have a conversation with somebody who's Native American to understand their point of view has really opened my eyes, and not just to Native Americans in regards to the lands that we are running on, but cultures in general and how they perceive the world and the things that they are going through on a daily and regular basis. And so don't be afraid to reach out to somebody and say, hey, would you be willing to have a conversation with me? I want to learn more. I think that's a really big an important thing to do, because the more we talk, the more we understand, and the more we understand, the better we are at resolving our problems. So I highly recommend that we go down that path with each other and ask questions and have conversations, and don't be afraid to talk to each other about things, even if it makes you feel uncomfortable. That's a good thing. If it makes you feel uncomfortable, it's because it means you're learning and you're growing. So I would absolutely do that. Another question that we have is, should Lori be more present on Run Try Mag? And to that end, I say, absolutely. We need more Lori. I mean, we need somebody who's not just uber smart, but uber funny on this show. Like, I'm middling. I'm average at best, kids. I'm punching above my weight, as they say, and would love to get Lori on the RTB platform more often than we do right now. And so the answer to that question is absolutely yes. Let's do more of that. Let's do more reels together. Let's make fun of each other more. Although if you go to Threads, you will get a really good feel for who we are and what we do, and the joy that we have with each other while we're watching TV and literally threading at each other from 6 inches away, and we just enjoy it. So those are all the questions that I've had sent over to me, and I apologize for those of you who are hoping to get on Instagram Live. I know we were there for a few moments, but we've since got bounced. But maybe you're on Facebook and have been able to see it there, or maybe even on Twitter. So I want to end this show with some shout outs to some people, and I know I'm going to miss a ton, so I apologize in advance to those of you that I've missed. But for those of you who engage with us on a regular basis, thank you so much. And those people who I talk to regularly, Krista, which is Storm 702, Santino Williams, 75 Santino, Kevin Shea on Threads, Brick Marlin on Threads as well, who we're going to talk tomorrow about the Trail Running Film Fest and our favorite movies that we got to watch from that, which is really cool. Adria, we talked to a lot. Coach Croft, we talked to a lot. Becky, Coach Phaedra Kennedy, we talked to a lot as well. Stephanie Walsh, thank you for your questions for today, and really appreciate the conversations that we have had over time. Mary, Roddy to the core, sister, you make me laugh on the regular, and I can't thank you enough for that. Will Eady, who Lori and I had the pleasure of having lunch with earlier today, July 1st. Awesome, dude. Can't wait to see you in both New York and Chicago, and then also in Arizona for Javelina, which will be a blast. I know I'm forgetting so many people. You guys don't understand how you make me feel on a regular basis. You lift me up, you enlighten me, you inspire me, you motivate me, you make me cry at times because you're sharing your stories openly, honestly, and vulnerably with a stranger, in all honesty, right? And I can't thank you enough for doing that. That means the world to me. I love hearing those stories. No story is less than another. And yes, your story matters. And here's why it matters, in case you haven't forgotten. There's only one of you. Nobody else can tell your story. Only you can tell your story, because you're the only one who's ever lived it. And so DM me, email me. Let's have a conversation. Let's get you on one of our podcasts. Let's get you interviewed and get an article up on the website and talk about the things that you've overcome to get to your starting and finishing lines. Let's talk about the things that you had to deal with on your way to a DNF. Let's talk about the things that you had to deal with on your way to a DNS, because I've been there too. I've DNS'd races as well. So you guys, thank you so much. You are Run, Try, Bike. I just happen to be a face and a voice that carries this logo, but you guys are the everyday athletes that represent Run, Try, Bike and EAPN. Thank you so much for listening and or watching. I really appreciate it. We will be back next week, which will be July 8th. And on July 8th, I am going to be joined by Peter Falcon, who is a sports psychology expert. And I can't wait to talk to him. We're going to be talking to him about Ironman and triathlon specifically when it comes to sports psychology. So be on the lookout for that. That'll be July 8th at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. And if you can't make it to any of the live broadcasts, the Fireside Chat comes out on your favorite podcast platform the following week at 9 a.m. Pacific time. So don't forget to subscribe, rate, review, and comment on the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network, as it really does help us get these stories to more people. And the more people we can help with getting into sport, getting through challenge, getting past the obstacles to their finish line, that's what we want to do. Have a great one. Thanks for joining me on this solo endeavor of the Run, Try, Bike Fireside Chat on the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network.